Hey guys, it's Monday. The priest who made a mess is the title of today's devotion. And we have our blocks again. Yesterday we had our blocks that form the leaf, and today our blocks look like that. And it's a bird. So let's dive in and see what this symbol could really mean for us and how it ties into Jesus and his story. Jesus surprised everyone by entering Jerusalem on a donkey. Remember, we talked yesterday, it wasn't a horse, it was a humble donkey. He surprised everyone because he was weeping. He wasn't coming in all triumphant, he was weeping. They didn't even seem very king-like of him, but people were very cautious and curious about what he was doing. Why was the king crying, and what would he be doing next? So later that week, they followed him into the most important building in the city. They followed him into the temple. The temple was this beautiful golden building God had told his people to build. It was supposed to be God's home on earth, the one place God's people knew he would be. God's people would bring their special gifts of cows and sheep and pigeons. The priests, the men who were in charge of the temple, would help them sacrifice their gifts, and together they would all pray to God. When Jesus walked into the temple, though, he wasn't happy at all. Something had gone terribly wrong. Sure, the cows and the sheep and the pigeons and the priests were all still there, but the prayers weren't. Instead, there were a bunch of greedy men wanting to make money by selling animals to people so they can have their sacrifices. And Jesus had warned people about this. Jesus had said, be careful what you do, but they kept on forgetting. So he decided to get their attention. And oh boy, did he get their attention. He walked over to that table, leaned over, and then he flipped it. He flipped that table over. Money went crashing everywhere, jangling and clinging everywhere on the floor. Pigeons began flying all over the place. Then the cows and the sheep started scrambling to the door. We can only imagine. It was madness. In the midst of that chaos, in the midst of all the noise, Jesus' voice could be heard saying, my house is supposed to be a house of prayer, and you made it a house of greed. And of course, it made the priests mad as well. And as all the animals could have been scattering, they said, who do you think you are? This is not your house. But Jesus, knowing exactly whose house it was, said, destroy this temple, and in 3 days, I will rise it up again. Everyone's jaw dropped. They could not imagine to build this temple in 3 days. It took them 46 years to build it. But maybe Jesus could. Could the priest? Probably not. But could Jesus? Maybe he could, if it really was his. Later on, the people would realize that Jesus wasn't talking about the temple. He was talking about himself, about dying and coming back to life. But at that time, everyone heard and wondered, was Jesus a priest or was he a king? And what kind of kingdom would this man bring? Continue to pray this week and make God's house a house of prayer and not for the greedy.